was rational, right? That's another balance. So we have these two aspects of balance in spirituality. Spirituality versus obedience to the Quran and the Sunnah. These are the guidelines. And spirituality, second one, spirituality versus rationality. Versus rationality. So spirituality, if you keep it balanced, is going to enhance your rationality. It will give you more insight. Because from spirituality comes basira, insight. And firasa. Insight, you're going to see through things. You're going to understand people's feelings. You're going to see through what they say and what they do. You're going to see through this. Spirituality enhances the sight that's in your heart. You're going to see through things. You're going to develop wisdom when it's balanced. But when it's excessive, it's going to block your mind again. So you need that balance between both of them. So where does spirituality come from? That's a big question. Where does spirituality come from? Spirituality. Where does spirituality come from? In our experience. When you experience spirituality, where does it come from? From the heart. What's in the heart to give you spirituality? It's the soul. It's the soul. In your body, you could experience pain. You could experience pain. When something hurts you, you're going to experience pain. You're going to experience pleasure when you eat. You're hungry, you have the pangs of hunger. You eat, you're going to experience. The taste is going to give you pleasure. These are bodily, physical sensations. Okay? With sexual intimacy, you're going to feel pleasure. That's a bodily feeling as well. That's a bodily feeling. With your mind, what do you get? You get intellectualism. So you can rationalize. And this brings you a lot of pleasure, by the way, or gives you trouble. Depends. If you master an intellectual process, if you understand it, analyze it, and deal with it efficiently, you're going to feel some kind of fulfillment. When you understand something and master it in your mind, that gives you a lot of pleasure. That's an intellectual sensation. It comes from that. And when you try to analyze a matter or try a problem and you can't figure it out, it gives you pain. That's an intellectual experience, right? So we have these experiences coming from the body, coming from the mind. But we have experiences that you can never classify as bodily or intellectual. You can never. Where do you get these from? That's from your soul. That's from your soul. And this is why these cannot be explained. Because the soul is part of the unseen world. You can't explain it. You can't explain these feelings. And that's exactly what the Prophet ﷺ said, or what he called halawatul iman, the sweetness of faith. The sweetness of faith. Where does it come from? It doesn't come from a bodily sensation. It doesn't come from an intellectual understanding. It doesn't come from that. Where does it come from? It's a moment, sometimes you're praying or reciting Qur'an, it just dawns on you, and you don't know where it came from. A moment of khushu'. You're listening to the Qur'an, you find tears rolling down your cheeks. Such a beautiful sensation, you have no words to describe. Where does this come from? That's a ruh, that's your soul. It's connected to your heart. It's connected to your heart. So spirituality comes from our ruh, from our soul. It has nothing to do with our body, has nothing to do with our mind and intellect. It has to do with the soul. And that's halawatul iman, and khushu' is for an example of it. Now the biggest question for me. What is, or this feeling of spirituality, this sweetness of iman? It comes from the soul. That the soul is the source of it. When does the soul experience this spirituality and express it to us so we feel it? When? There is one secret to it. One secret to it.
Remembrance of Allah.
Remembrance of Allah is a tool to get there. Closeness is a word to describe it, but it's not the exact word. Abu Ahmad? Yes. Al-Mahabba. Al-Mahabba. Loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, experiencing the love of Allah. Who says this? It's not me. It's the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why does he say this? Listen to what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. He says, ثلاث من كن in Sahih Muslim, ثلاث من كن فيه وجد بهن حلاوة الإيمان. 3 things. Whoever has them will definitely experience حلاوة الإيمان, the sweetness of faith, the sweetness of Iman. That's what spirituality is, حلاوة الإيمان. What are these 3 things? First one, أن يكون الله ورسوله أحب إليه مما سواهما. That Allah and His Messenger are more beloved to this than anyone else. So He has love, His love is for Allah and His Messenger like no one else. Not even for oneself. Because Umar Khattab radiallahu anhu asked the Prophet ﷺ that I love you more than, but I love myself more. The Prophet ﷺ said, not yet. Not yet. So he thought to himself and figured out, and he said, Wallahi, now you are more beloved to me than myself. The Prophet ﷺ said, Al-ana ya Umar, now you got it. So really, spirituality comes, the reality of spirituality is experiencing love with love of the divine, love of Allah. That's it. That's why spirituality comes, it's love. And Ibn Taymiyyah explains that the essence of Iman, the essence of Iman and the reality of Iman, and the reality of ibadah, worship, is love. Is love. Don't make it technical. These technicalities are manifestations of that state, spiritual state, love. So at the core of who we are as human beings is love. Ibn al-Qayyim says in Madarij al-Salikin, حقيقة الإيمان هي محبة الله. He says the reality of Iman. You want to know what Iman is? A lot of people think it's intellectual. That's where Al-Murji'ah went wrong. They missed out on this side of spirituality. They thought Iman is in the head, is in the mind, is intellectual. So they said, as long as you know Allah, your Iman doesn't go up and down. No. Iman is spiritual in essence. It has to do with the mind, it has to do with our bodies. But the heart of Iman, the essence of Iman is love. It's a spiritual state. So spirituality, you access it, you experience it